Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Today, I am here with a new friend, Matt O'Leary Music. Hello, Matt.
Hey, Sam.
This is great to have Matt on. He's a new channel to me, and vice versa. I'm new to him, and just kind of neat to, touch base here with him. And some of the early videos that I watched of Matt involved one of our favorite bands, the Lemon Twigs, with that wonderful glare. Um, Matt loves the Lemon Twigs. I love the Lemon Twigs. And as many of you know that follow my channel, uh, I talk about them all the time, especially their last album, A Dream Is All We Know, that, knocked me on, off my feet when I first heard it. And it
Well, that
became
was
very important
first
to,
album.
that was the first album I think that I purchased. That was definitely the first album that I purchased when it came out.
Yeah,
Um,
cool.
and then kind of did the everything harmony thing, and then went back, came forward. um but yeah, Dream Is All We Know, big part of my channel. I've talked about it ad nauseum. It was my favorite album of the year. It played a crucial part in my relationship with my wife. We had the song from that record as our first dance at our wedding last summer. So the Lemon Twigs, there's a thread that holds me close to the Lemon Twigs. But I know Matt has Lemon Twigs knowledge and stories, but we're here just to really kind of talk shop, talk a little bit about our journey with the Lemon Twigs, talk a little bit about the new record. Matt's already done a very good review. It was one of the first ones that I saw up about the new record. Look for Your Mind, which is their phenomenal sixth official record, if you don't count a couple of other projects that we may or may not talk about. So, Matt, again, welcome to the channel. I appreciate you doing this with me.
Yeah, totally. It's awesome. I'll take any chance I can get to talk about the Lemon Twigs. You just throw it out there, and I'm like, yeah,
The
any invite,
carrot was dangled.
decide.
Yeah.
Just let me know. Maybe I'm gonna become like the preeminent scholar on Lemon Twigs on YouTube or something. I don't know.
Lemon Twigdom. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Um,
But yeah,
well,
I've been watching your channel for a couple months, and yeah, I really like what you're doing. You've brought a
well,
lot
thank
of
you.
music to me through those. I watched those like 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s Americana sampler kind of videos that you did. So that was
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
stuff.
Well, thank you. No, it's been fun, and I think like a lot of us, yeah, we kind of start with a niche. Like, I mean, obviously the Americana thing is kind of my meat and potatoes, but I'm also a big fan of, the Beach Boys, the Beatles, Tom Petty, that sort of stuff. And then obviously that kind of music leads us to, um, these indie bands that we like. And, whether it's, for me, The Killers or Death Cab for Cutie, groups like that I like, just as much. But what I'm interested to hear from you first off is, obviously, based on watching your videos, from what I've seen, you're a big fan of the early kind of wacky, glammy kind of Lemon Twigs, the Do Hollywood, the Go to School. Tell me about, do you remember those first initial, listenings to Lemon Twigs? Do you remember where you first heard them, and, how that kind of journey began for you?
Yeah, it's. I feel like there's a number of artists in your life that are sort of landmark artists where you remember where you were, and it kind of hit you like, oh, this is different. This is a serious. These are serious songwriters, and I remember that with Do Hollywood. It's like walking down the street on campus. With music, you have those like visceral memories that come back, and that's one of those for me that sticks with me. So I've known them since the beginning, and really got into those early records. I remember just being so excited for Go to School, and then it just like totally knocked me off my feet. And so it's been interesting to see them go into, from their 4AD label period, where they're maybe more obscure indie. There were some more modern elements making it into the sound. Of course, the 60s has always been the hub, really. But then to go on Everything Harmony, and I think it was like Anthony Fantano started giving them
Hmm.
good scores. They started being accepted, and get their music got out there a little bit more, and it became a little bit more mainstream or indie mainstream. So it's been interesting to see that switch into critical acclaim and things for them in these last couple of records, because I feel like it's just a continuation, it's just a branch on the tree, if you will, of the Twigs, and what they were doing right at the beginning was pretty much already formed. Like they were excellent musicians at a really young age, in their teens when they made Do Hollywood. So I've always kind of just seen it as one line, not these sort of disconnected, like, oh, they're making obscure stuff and then all of a sudden they're making super immediate stuff. Although I will say the last album, this one, are their most immediate, most accessible, punchy pop sort of stuff. But that accessibility and that pop sensibility was always there, I feel like, even on Go to School, even if there was a lot of other bells and whistles around the edges of their sound and experimentation and things. So
Right.
yeah, I've been with them since the beginning. I've been waiting on every record. You mentioned your wife. Like, I have that connection with my wife too. They're one of the bands we share, so we look forward to everything, and we're kind of in deep to the Michael and Brian lore and the Twiglet fan group and
Yeah.
page and stuff. So it's been a real fun journey with the band.
Yeah, and I can imagine if you were somebody that knew them more toward the beginning. And I think because somebody asked me, where did I first hear them? Um, and I think it was my youngest sister somehow found them. I don't know if she was on Instagram or TikTok. This would have been 6 or 7 years ago. It was, and I wish I could remember which song it was, but it was a song from Do Hollywood. And she's like, "Have you heard these guys? They're sweet. Like they're just a really unique, quirky band." And I remember like listening to it, and I was just kind of indifferent. And they got, it was a retro sounding band. They sounded obviously glammy with the Todd Rundgren connection, and I didn't know any of that stuff. I didn't know that they were being hailed by people like Al Jardine and Brian Wilson and the Zombies, who were putting them on a pedestal, saying these are people that you should look out for. Um, for me, I know it wasn't until I heard the song "The One." Um, where I saw the video and they're very dressed up like 70s kind of Rolling Stones, like that kind of look, like their hair was kind of fringed and everything, and they had like the vest with no shirt on and that kind of look. um and then I thought that was a great song, listened to it over and over again, didn't really jump into an album really until I heard Everything Harmony, probably maybe a year after it came out, and loved it. I know that album is a little bit more mellow, and it's not exactly like these last couple of records. But the like the Brian Wilson harmony is there. The power pop of like Ghost Run Free is there. Um, the beautiful When Winter Comes Around with Brian playing that classical nylon string guitar. There was a lot of things there that I liked, and it was kind of at that moment that I thought, yeah, I need to be watching these guys. And so obviously everything since that's come out, I'm buying, the web exclusive versions. And if I see that the Lemon Twigs, produce an album by somebody else, I listen to that, and I have to make a decision if I'm going to buy that or not. Um, so yeah, they're very, very, very cool to follow as a record collector, because they're such a record band. They're such a vinyl band.
Yeah, like the vinyl experience and the cool special editions and all the extra little bits they include are such a fun part of it. And their collaboration with Tchotchke and their
Yeah.
girlfriends, and
Hmm.
that art from Eva Chambers, the video style of all the videos they do now. Um, yeah, that's a big part of it. It's very like it is 60s in that way. It's tactile. It's
Hmm.
real. Yeah, and they definitely embrace that. Everything Harmony is they have had a certain polish on their sound, I will say, since kind of that period. Whereas I think there was a more rough edges and things that took time to get used to. Where if you were going to Go to School now and hear a song like Rock Dreams, for example, with their mom singing as one of the characters, it's like a little harder for most people to embrace. Maybe more musical theater, whereas the more recent albums are just like pretty like sugar to your veins
Hmm.
for most of it. Although I think the reason I love the Twigs, if I could say it in a sentence, is just the musical sophistication paired with the pop sensibility. That these are complicated melodies, chord progressions. They obviously understand music really well. And as a musician, having a little bit more knowledge into the theory of things, it's so fun to dig into these albums and to figure out, like, especially Brian, some of his songs, so strange, his choices musically. And
Yeah.
um, so that's a big part of it, is just how, like, and I think that's the real secret sauce there with the Twigs, is like sophistication paired with like maxing that out, but also maxing pop sensibility. So you have both of those.
Yeah.
It reminds me of maybe like Steely Dan in that way. You have like both ends.
And I know they just recently, the Lemon Twigs just recently did an interview, and I think it was Michael who kind of, lovingly said that they were, if they were to be, the Lennon McCartney, that Brian is more the McCartney because he's bigger and like the weird chord changes and the sophistication is the right word for it. And then Michael kind of said, I'm the John, where I just like, I kind of sing with more emotion. I've got the, I guess edgier kind of feel. But when you
Yeah.
listen to them, for me, if we're using Beatles terms, I've always been a McCartney guy over Lennon. But with the Twigs, the more I listen to them, and I have Brian's solo record that came out last year as well, which is essentially half a Lemon Twigs album. Uh, I find myself liking Michael's songs more. Like I feel like his are more hook based, a la McCartney. But you hear a song like "Gather Round" on this new record.
Yeah.
That's pure, like, that could have been on Ram by
Right.
McCartney. So I don't know, like, what do you think about that comparison? Like, do you
Yeah.
do you lean toward more like one or more of the guys? Like, do you have a favorite, an early favorite?
That's a great question. I think they've, I kind of covered this a little bit on my review a little bit, and I think that Michael has grown more sophisticated in his songwriting, and maybe they've, in there being more like harmonized brothers working as one team, they've become a little bit more similar almost over time. And they've taken on some of each other's
Yeah,
sensibilities and things, and strengths. I've always just leaned Brian, personally, since the beginning. And a song like an album like Songs for the General Public, for me, is the only misses on that album are Michael songs. There are
mm,
few, but for me, like, that's my favorite Brian album. Like, every Brian song is just like, oh my gosh, hit after hit. And
yeah,
some of my favorite Lemon Twig songs on that record, for sure. So I've always leaned a little bit more toward him, and I definitely see that, like, he's more got the McCartney in him, and the raw directness, the emotion of Lennon, Michael's had, especially towards the beginning. I think that
mm,
contrast was there. Whereas now, I think they're both doing things at such a high level. They're becoming more dynamic and broadening their palette, so to speak, as writers. So it's almost harder to tell what's a Michael and Brian song a little bit.
yeah,
Or at least there's some songs on the record where it, like, could go either way. Bring You Down. It's like, I don't know for sure. Or Look for Your Mind, or something like that. It could go either.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, to use songs from the general public. I mean, that was what, 2020. So the guys, they're about 26, 28 years old now, but Michael being the younger. So that album is really kind of one of those moments, like in a lot of our lives, where you're leaving, your teenage years into your early 20s. And so Michael, being 19 or 20 around that time, is kind of, I'm assuming, finding his sound and his voice, because they did the weird and wacky on Do Hollywood and Go to School. And I think General Public was kind of like one of those turning point albums. That was like, a Rubber Soul or something like that, where you had, again, Do Hollywood, and then a big switch to Go to School with the weird concept double record. Um, singing in kind of these weird voices sometimes, and playing the characters, and using Todd Rundgren as a voice on so many of the songs.
Yeah.
Um, but then, yeah, you hear a little bit more of that pop melody, like the song like "Helen Wheels,"
Mhm.
from General Public, where it's like, oh, they're definitely playing the rock and roll '70s kind of glam card here. But then again, you hear like a song like "The One," where it's like, ooh, they're that's a very catchy chorus. So like you said, you see it from the beginning. The pop sensibilities and the melodies were there from the start. They've just changed to become kind of bubblegum, you know, 2 or 3 minute pop tunes.
Yeah, when was the first time you saw them live? I'm just curious.
So the
Last
one of
couple
the
of years?
connections with my wife. So our very first concert was seeing them the day. It would have been 2024. I guess it was May 5th, 2024, because it was Cinco de Mayo, and I think "A Dream Is All We Know" came out that day. I think it was a Friday. Um, if not, it was the Saturday. It was the day after that it came
Yeah,
out. It
they've
was
had like a few May releases in a row, I think.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the thing. I've seen them twice because we just saw them about 2 weeks ago up in DC, and it was May 8th, so it was the day after the most recent record came out.
Mhm.
So I've just seen them twice,
Yeah, where
and
I was going with that is just like, to your point about the contrast and their differing styles and that whole conversation. It's like Michael has really mellowed out.
yeah,
You can, it's like he's more comfortable in his skin or something, or settled into a certain era of Michael, at least,
yeah,
where
yeah,
it's embracing their 60s roots, and he just seems more relaxed and more articulate in interviews and things. And I feel like back in that time, obviously like super young, so you have like grace for someone at that age to
hmm
do what they need to do to find their way. But he definitely had a character on stage. I also loved that era. It's just like a
yeah,
different time. I kind of love the freakiness of it. And you'd go to a show and you're like, "What's Michael gonna do? I don't know."
yeah,
He
yeah.
could jump into the crowd. He could scream. He could,
What color is his hair gonna be? Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Whereas
um,
Brian was always sort of like, "I'm here for the songs."
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, no, yeah. Yeah, the times that I've seen them have both been, yeah, kind of on this current, pop journey that they've been on, where they've really embraced like the retro '60s looking clothes, kind of like the mod haircuts and all that stuff. Um, so with all that being said, let's jump into "Look for Your Mind," which again we've both had time with. I know I just listened to it this evening, but I've listened to it um, probably about 7 times now, all the way, and then different times on streaming and individual songs. So a lot of time I've listened to music a lot. So I feel pretty good about my thoughts about it. How I'm gonna perceive it probably later in the year when I'm looking at album rankings and all that stuff. Um, I know a lot of people, and I want to have your opinion on this video. A lot of people were worried because we got, you know, I Just Can't Get Over Losing You as a single, with the B side being Friday, I'm in Love. I'm Gonna Love Again, which was a B side, didn't make the album, which is great. And then the song Two or Three. So we got 3 tunes, two of which ended up on the record. When you were hearing those come out, or maybe you didn't listen to them, I don't know, you can tell me. What were you thinking? Like, were you concerned that the album was just going to be, a part two of their most recent, "A Dream Is All We Know"? Like, did you think it was just going to be, oh, here's just more of the same?
Hmm. Yeah, I wish I could say I held firm. I waited for the full record. I was very mature and, withholding and delayed gratification. But no, I listened to them immediately and a lot. So,
Yeah,
yeah, and it was, I think they picked the right songs. It was tougher in previous albums, like to pick the singles, I think. There were so many options. But this one, I was like, yeah, those are like, that's the most Brian song, like
hmm,
biggest hook. And then like, yeah, that one, the other one, the Michael song is just, it's like the thesis, I feel like, for the record. It's just such a perfect
it's perfect.
60s, yeah, sound. I was, uh, I wasn't surprised. I think I'm following kind of closely enough where I'm seeing them play live. I heard a lot of these songs live. So I knew even before they released them, a certain, batch. So I knew that they were kind of in this lane and they were going to stick with it for a while. Um, part of there, if there's no real disappointment because the songs are great, I love the album. But if there's any disappointment, it's just uh, that it feels like another batch of, it's similar in style to A Dream Is All We Know, and it's
Mm-hmm.
another batch of songs that are great in that space.
Mm-hmm.
So there is some similarity. It may not stand apart as much as a Go to School or a Songs for the General Public in terms of its style and in their discography. It just feels like another great one, which is
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Like, I'm all for it. I have no complaints. But I would love to see them try something like the last track as a full length album or something in the future. Then again, when I say that, I'd be happy with another one in this lane as well. I'm sort of like, I'll
Mm-hmm.
take anything I get as long as the songs are really good. But I would love to see them get more ambitious with song structures, maybe more prog in that sense. Although, I don't want to see like a full on epic 20-minute Lemon Twigs track. I don't
Yeah.
think that's very them. But just, maybe a little bit more variety in that sense. But I think that they'll get there. They're young. They have a lot of music in front of them. And it's like, I sort of just am along for the ride and happy to get anything that they give. But yeah, the singles are great. And, it was really hard. You gave me the assignment of like picking 3 songs, and I'm like, I don't know which ones to talk about. So I tried to pick like deep cuts because I'm like, got to talk about something else than the ones that maybe the most people have heard. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. How
No.
about you?
Yeah.
Were you similar? Were you hoping for something new, or was it?
I was probably in maybe the minority. I mean, because I feel like they've picked up a lot more fans with their current style, and it's interesting going to their shows and seeing the diversity of what the crowd looks like. Because the first time that we went 2 years ago, it was a much younger crowd. And I remember my wife after the show, my girlfriend at the time said, she felt old at that show. And, we were, 29 and 31 at that time. So, I mean, that we weren't old. So, there were a lot of,
Same
Gen
way.
Z kids.
Yeah.
Um, but this recent show in DC, there were people there, like more like the boomer generation that are the record collector, like the general demographic that probably watches our videos.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people, that looked like they were around to see the Beach Boys, and obviously there were still a lot of kids. I mean, there were still people in their late teens, early 20s, um, and there were, like us, in our early to mid 30s. So they had it felt like a more inclusive crowd of age spectrums.
Yeah.
So I think with all that to say, I was in the minority of really hoping it was going to be more of the same kind of like the AC/DC method of every album sounds like you can take one song and move it to this other one and it wouldn't make a difference. But I also appreciated, and I know people were really excited when they heard Friday I'm Gonna Love Again with that kind of psych vocal, change that they did on that single. Obviously, again, didn't make the record, but we got a song, Your True Enemy, with that weird, like, a day in the life,
Yeah.
closing crescendo at the end that, you kind of want to turn down your record player or you're going to scare people.
Yeah.
Um,
If my kids are around, it's like the one song I can't like blast, because they're like freaking out. So
yeah, it's definitely not a headphone song at, midnight if you're just, laying in bed with your headphones and want a lullaby. That's not the song.
yeah.
So I was very happy with it. When I go through my Lemon Twigs phases, I'll listen to Lemon Twigs and then I'll listen to, other bubblegum pop. Not to degrade the Lemon Twigs to be bubblegum pop, but listening to bands like The Circle or the Monkees or Herman's Hermits. Like I go through like
Yeah.
that phase where I want to listen to all that after I listen to the Twigs catalog. Um, so I'm glad to have this added to the collection because it adds more of that feeling that I want to keep chasing when I'm listening to them.
Yeah,
Um,
totally. They made me go back and revisit the Hollies.
Mm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
remember, kind of sampling their stuff, but never really diving deep.
Yeah.
So I did a video on them because I ended up like loving them, and I think they're pretty underrated in the '60s pop world and Beatles, circle. But they've got me to explore a whole range of '60s music and the diversity of that time, because it really was, there was so much going on, and there's so many nuances with all the little different corners of Baroque pop and psychedelic pop and garage and mercy beat, and just
Mm-hmm.
like different scenes that are locales and location based, geography based. Um, so I appreciate that, like especially for younger generations, getting us to go back and dig deeper, because they're unlocking new little corners of that time. And '70s. I hear like in a song like "I Hurt You" from the new album. It has like almost a late '70s AM kind of gold sound to it.
Yeah.
I almost think of, I mentioned Steely Dan earlier. There's a little bit of that. There's a little bit of almost like city pop,
Mm-hmm.
Japanese like '80s city pop, with kind of the synth thing going on. And so you can tell there's a whole range of music going into this. It's not purely Beatles, and I think the Beatles comparison is mostly because it's like really high quality stuff of
Mm-hmm.
of that, and with the variety and diversity of the Beatles catalog as well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, why don't you? I mean, you've mentioned a couple already. Why don't you? Yeah, give the viewers, some of the couple of the songs that you wanted to highlight from the record that maybe they should dig into if they already know the singles.
Sure, yeah. I would say one of my favorite non-singles was Fire and Gold. It's a Brian song. It's like fifth on the album.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Someone else said this, so I can't take credit, but it has like it's like the perfect, it's euphoric and joyful, but it's also like melancholic at the same time. It's like a
Yeah.
best way to describe it is like it has
Yeah.
those things in the melody, and there's almost like a Celtic kind of flavor to the melody. I said it reminded me of this Greg Lake Christmas song, if anyone's ever heard that.
Yes.
Leaving Father Christmas. I was like
I
immediately
thought the
like,
exact same thing.
yeah.
The exact same thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a unique melody. Again, it's tied to that same era and period that their whole, they soak in, but it's like a different little pocket of it. And I just love the melody. It's so beautiful to me. So that one for sure. Also want to mention, I mentioned I Hurt You, but also, what's it called? My Heart is in Your Hands Tonight. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, on side B.
Last
Yeah.
song. Yeah. That's one where I was like, that song could have been a single. It'd be a great single from so many other albums and bands. Like
Yeah.
the chorus is so joyous and immediate and incredible. That's one where I see like the sophistication of Michael's writing growing a little bit, where the chord structure is really interesting. Like there's a lot of unique choices in there. His voice as well is becoming more and more dynamic, and the ranges that he hits, like he goes way up into falsetto. There's like a mid-range head voicey
Mm-hmm.
tone he's got going, and then there's like the verse, which he's just like shouting it out, screaming. So that's like a Michael maturity type of song that I'm like, I'm so proud of you, Michael. Well done.
Yeah.
And it was just one where the first time I heard it, it's like almost brought to tears because of that chorus. It was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So those have been highlights for me.
No, those are great descriptions. And yeah, it's just so interesting. You take each of the songs, and I know the first couple of times I listened to it, actually, probably the first 4 or 5 times, I kept thinking, I'm like, the record might be a little bit better if they took off a couple of songs. That would still only be like 4.5 minutes. It wouldn't be a massive cut. But then going through song by song,
Yeah.
it's just like, I don't know which ones I would cut because the deep cuts are so good. The singles have to be there. The title track has to be there. I'm just, yeah. It's it's the mark of a strong album, even if it's kind of in the same vein as what they've been doing. It'd be I'd be hard pressed to cut a couple songs.
Totally. I'm
Um,
with you.
for me, a couple of songs that stand out. I mentioned it earlier. The song "Gather Round," which has this like again McCartney esque music hall style of the kind of the bass drums. It just sounds like something you I can imagine like a Beatles type video with it, where like the guys, or like a promo where the guys are walking down this like parade route, like dressed in like band uniforms, like Sergeant Pepper esque kind of uniforms, and banging on the drums and with the French horns and tubas and things. Like that's what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that could easily have been yeah mid '60s or even mid '60s Beatles, early '70s McCartney and Wings track. I absolutely love it. It's a Brian tune. Love his vocal on it. I would love to hear this one live because when we saw them again, it was just fresh off of the release date, and we did get a live premiere at our show, which I'll talk about that song next. But yeah, Gather Round for me. If you like McCartney, if you like that kind of music hall, big horn, you know, kick drum kind of thing, it's great, and it's like just one of those great kind of feel good tunes that I'm a big fan of. Again, the singles obviously I recommend, but the song that we got for the first time, and it was funny because Michael was trying to remember, the opening chord and how to start it, but it was the song "Yeah I Do," which was awesome. And if you hear his voice on that, he sounds so much like Eric Carmen. It sounds like such a Raspberries tune, which I noticed more Raspberries on this record than the previous. Um, I don't know if they were listening to Eric Carmen because he had passed away between those records, and if the Raspberries were on their playlist while they were writing some of these tunes. But short song, it's under 2 minutes. Um, it's one of those that just kind of starts right into it. Like the track starts, boom, he's already singing. Um, and yeah, I love the vocals on it. Again, so early '70s Raspberries on that track. I think it's just
Yeah.
perfect.
I almost heard like Jerry and the Pacemakers, whatever his last name is, that kind of
Yeah,
tone to the. But Eric Carmen, like the yas and the screams are very
yeah, oh yeah.
similar.
It was funny because we were listening to my wife and I on the way to DC a couple weeks ago. We had it, playing on Spotify on the way up, and we listened to the full record. And I kept saying, I was like, "Remember that song? Because I'm going to play you. Like, I want you to pull up the Raspberries next." And so, like, we play like their top three on Spotify, and she's like, "Yeah." She's like, "There it is." Um,
Yeah, I love just how economical that song. It's just like not a wasted second, like you said. Start into it. Every melody is good. They even have like a little bridge moment in there. It's really short because you said it's like under 2 minutes.
yeah, no,
Everything is just like optimized. Yeah,
it's perfect, and yeah, obviously, like the whole record again, harmonies are spotless all over it. And then I had to go with a another Brian tune because I love so much the song, when winter comes around, and that kind of corner of my eye, like that kind of stuff.
yeah,
So kind of the song on this album is Joy that he wrote, um, which that's what we got. And if anybody goes to Lemon Twig shows, they know they finish the main set, and then usually Brian comes out and does a couple of tunes on his nylon acoustic classical guitar. And this was one of the songs that we got. We heard "Corner of My Eye" and we got "Joy," um, and just the finger picking is fantastic, and just how he builds on the chorus of singing "And she left me with a frown, passing through to some other town" over and over again. It's just how he sings it, and we heard it, and I remember saying out loud at the venue, I just went wow because it was just so good to hear it.
he has
Just him,
this piercing tone, and when he's just dry in the room, and you're just
yes.
it just hits. Yeah, everyone has the same reaction. It's just like
Yeah.
some,
So those are the three. Again, if you want something more rocking that we didn't mention, yeah, the song "Bring You Down" has like it's literally just like a Surfing USA fun kind of type song. Um,
yeah,
again, not what you expect, but it's like, oh, they're listening to, Beach Boys 1964 right there on that
Yeah.
song. Um, and then, yeah, if you want something more psych, the last tune, Your True Enemy, has like that weird, crescendo. Again, like I said, day in the life kind of ending to it. But again, still very melodic up until that point.
Yeah, and even like Fire and Gold, they bring in the effect and the psychedelic effects, and the first song is super. It kind of, yeah, this is a little bit more of their psychedelic album, but it's not. There's a mix. There's everything harmony. I hear some of that kind of more melancholic stuff, like "Mean to Me." That song
Hmm.
reminds me of that album. Um, the guitar kind of arpeggiation on Your True Enemy reminds me of Everything Harmony. So there's kind of a mix of like the brightness and sunshine of A Dream Is All We Know and
Yeah.
Everything Harmony. I was going to mention you love Joy. It's been so cool seeing Brian's like ballads as he's gone through, because every album he'll have like the one, that
Yeah.
um like How Lucky Am I from Do Hollywood.
Hmm.
he it, these are just some of my favorite songs ever. If You Give Enough from Go to School. So he's always had a way of just like, he's got that soft ballad he's working on in the
Yeah.
background. That's a total masterpiece. And yeah, he's done
Which
it
is what
again.
makes
Ember
his.
Days on the last album. I love.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great that he taps into that and is sure to add it. And again, if you listen to his solo record, it kind of falls more in line with the Everything Harmony, like a little bit more mellow, um, kind of style. And obviously, you get, 10 or 12 tracks of Brian on it. But yeah, I think overall, if just to kind of wrap it up, if we are to see another Twigs album, it sounds like you would kind of like it for you would like to see them again kind of tap into that experimental side a little bit more that they gave us on the first few records, and then obviously a few tracks on this Look for Your Mind record. The way that the Twigs go, I wouldn't put it past them to give us another record in less than a year under their name. Um,
It's like every year or two for sure. It seems like, I think we're going to get it. I mean, a handful more. Who knows? They're going to be playing music forever. So
that's the joy of having them start, when they were 16, 17 years old on that first record.
yeah,
Um,
it's like they might not even be halfway.
they're going, yeah, the Beatles method where, they, yeah, we don't want you to break up, but the Beatles breaking up before they're all 30, and it's like,
Yeah.
wow, really? You did that in that time?
And like so many artists, you'd expect to see the quality like fall off at some point, like it's
Yeah,
just the normal cycle of, you think Beach Boys or Beatles or anyone, it's like, it can't go on forever. There's going to be interpersonal changes, relationship changes, all sorts of things that change the dynamic of what they're doing. And certainly success and those kind of things and ego can get in the way, I'm sure. But it does seem like it does feel like they're humble, and what they genuinely enjoy doing the most is writing and recording. And there's no reason to think that they're going to slow down too much. So
no, I agree. Um, but yeah, no, I guess I'll leave everybody. If you like harmonies, if you like hooks, if you like, again, to use your expression, like that sugar kind of ingested right into, the bloodstream, check out the Lemon Twigs. Check out Look for Your Mind. There it is again. Shrink wrap still on it because I can't do that. Um, yeah, fantastic band. If you know Matt's channel, if you know my channel, you know what they mean to us, and we'd love for you all to comment. Let us know if you've heard the new record. Let us know if you've seen the Twigs. What's your journey? Give us your, three from the record that you might recommend to a new listener. But Matt, thank you so much. Everybody, please go subscribe. Matt O'Leary Music. His information's below. His review of the record is going to be below as well. And I encourage everybody to go check him out.
thanks so much. Yeah, appreciate it. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.